It's getting to the point where I feel like I need a priest to come into my home and sage my entire office because the baseball gods have spited me. It happened again, literally an hour after I said the Blue Jays traded for Miles Straw and $2 million to maybe get Roki Sasaki. Roki goes to the Dodgers. I just wanted to stop. But I guess, if anything, if you have not hit that subscribe button yet, subscribe, because if we post a video, something big is going to happen right after. So yeah, later in the video, we'll talk about Roki going to the Dodgers, and then after that, we have a fun statement from the owner of the Cubs, Tom Ricketts. He said that his goal every single year is not to win a World Series, it's to break even, and that fans should keep that in mind. The owner of the Cubs, who is the owner of one of the best fan bases in all of Major League Baseball, and by the way, he said this at a fan convention. If you want to be mad at the Dodgers, fine, but we got some stupid owners out there. Anyways, let me remind you super quick that recap is brought to you by SeatGeek and Underdog Fantasy. Use code Fuzzy today for a free Patrick Mahomes pick'em. You're welcome. So before we talk about the Dodgers winning the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes, I do have a few smaller signings to talk about. AJ Minter just went to the Mets on a 2-year contract worth $22 million, and this is a perfect opportunity to remind you that that clip a few years ago of the kids who somehow got the number for a bullpen, that's AJ Minter.
Yes.
Get Minter up and moving around.
Say that again?
Get Minter up and moving around.
AJ had one lone bad season way back in 2019. Since that point, he has a combined 2.8 ERA and an 11 strikeouts per 9. Now, 2024, I'll admit, was a confusing year to say the least because he had a 2.6 ERA. That's awesome, but he had a career low in strikeout percentage, and the home runs per 9 basically doubled. And also, I do have to give context, he had a hip injury, so if that hip is back and healthy going forward, he should get the velocity back up there. I expect a big bump in the strikeouts, and he's going to be a sick duo out there with Edwin Diaz, and it could be a nasty trio if Sean Reed Foley somehow gets that command in check, because last year in 29 innings, he had 41 strikeouts. That's disgusting. But in those 29 innings, he walked 20 dudes. The A's have made yet another move. They are picking up Jose Leclerc for $10 million, and that $10 million is a funny number to me because with this signing, the A's can basically say to all of the other owners, hey, we've done our job. We have spent the required amount to not get a grievance filed against us. If you guys don't know what a grievance is, it's basically all of the other owners saying, you're not spending enough, you're wasting our revenue sharing dollars, we're suing you. Jose Leclerc was not very good last year when it comes to the main point of pitching, that is limiting runs. He had an almost 4.5 ERA. Oh no, wait, he had a 4.6 ERA, so above that. But he was still disgusting in terms of the stuff. He had 89 strikeouts in 66 innings. That is a 12 strikeouts per 9. So imagine if the A's had kept Lucas Erceg and not shipped him to the Royals. If they went Leclerc to Erceg to Mason Miller, that is a nasty, nasty trio, one of the better bullpens in all of baseball, but they don't have Erceg anymore, so I can't really say that. In terms of what the A's have done this offseason, they've picked up Luis Severino. They traded for Jeffrey Springs, who is one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball. They got Jose Leclerc. They got a Brent Rooker extension done. They picked up the next Shohei Ohtani, that kid, Shotaro Mori. Again, he's more of a project. He's not going to be Shohei. I'm just going to throw that out there. You can't be a shortstop and a pitcher. So let me know, which side of the fence are you on when it comes to viewing the A's going forward? Are you on the side that says, I'm going to tip my cap and say, hey, the A's have had a sneaky little good offseason, and going into Sacramento, this is a pretty good team. It's not going to be a World Series team, but they're actually a whole lot better? Or are you on the other side that says, I'm going to write it off as they're being forced to spend money. I'm not giving them credit until I see them spend when they're not having a grievance held over their head. And one more thing super quick before the Roki news. We all know that Shintaro Fujinami came up with the A's. He went to the Orioles, and he hasn't been in baseball since 2023. He just got an invite to spring training from the Mariners, so a minor league deal. And honestly, of all of the moves that we're going to talk about today, I hope that this is the one that works out the best. He's a 6'6" flamethrower who was shredding all of Japan before he came over to Major League Baseball. Even though he got lit up, his cutter was one of the best in baseball. He held opponents to a 171 batting average against that cutter with a near 40% whiff rate. So Seattle, their 5-starter, had a 2.89 ERA last year. So if you want to fix command, you go to the Mariners. And the biggest example I can give is Luis Castillo. When he was nasty out there with the Reds, he had a 3.5 walks per 9. He goes to the Mariners, and that got immediately cut to a 2.5 walks per 9. If Shintaro Fujinami gets his command in check with the Mariners, that's going to be a really fun 6-man rotation as well. Not as good as the Dodgers 6-man rotation. Let's talk about that. Yesterday was so funny to me. It was like pure comedy that I uploaded a video talking about how Roki can now be a Blue Jay because of the extra $2 million given to Toronto by Cleveland. An hour later, he signs with the Dodgers. You can't make this up. Also, by the way, I'm really sorry to all of my Jays fans because they've experienced some of the biggest I can't say that. If you're older, you know what I was about to say, but they've been teased far too much over the last few seasons. I mean, it all started with the flight of Shohei, where we all thought Shohei was on a plane en route to being the new DH and future ace and prime minister of Canada. We thought that was going to happen, but turns out it was the Shark Tank guy, Robert Herjavec. The Blue Jays offered a ton of money to Juan Soto, and it looks like they were in second or third place behind the New York Mets. I think it was Mets, Yankees, and then Blue Jays, and then also Roki Sasaki. The rumors are they finished in second place again. But back to Roki and the Dodgers. I've talked about Roki ad nauseum, so I feel like there's not really much else to say. We know that he's joining one of the best rotations on paper already. Now that he's in that rotation on paper, this is the most talented and nastiest rotation ever assembled. Ohtani should be ready to pitch, so the Dodgers can go Shohei Ohtani, two-time Cy Young winner Blake Snell, Yoshinobu, Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, Tyler Glasnow. That's the five. You have future Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, let me remind you, Clayton Kershaw as a sixth starter. Oh, by the way, Dustin May, who's a freak of nature, he's healthy. Tony Gonsolin is a beast as well. Imagine if Gavin Stone was healthy, or if Bobby Miller bounces back. The Dodgers could have an 8-man rotation, and they're all disgusting. We know what Roki brings to the table. He throws gas, has one of the better splitters in baseball, so now it's time to turn it to all of you guys. There's two different perspectives that we can have about this situation. One, the Dodgers are ruining Major League Baseball, and it just seems like their AAA farm system is no longer in America. It's overseas in Japan. They have 3/5 of the Team Japan rotation that literally won the WBC. So again, perspective one is the Dodgers ruined baseball with that deferred Ohtani contract. Because of that, they can defer money for Snell, they can pick up a Yamamoto, and then once you have Ohtani and Yamamoto, you can get a Roki. I mean, it was basically a shoo-in. Even other owners were like, hey, we have to investigate this. And by the way, I do want to mention that there's already been investigations in place by Major League Baseball to see if the Dodgers were somehow colluding. The Dodgers came out clean. MLB has basically said, you guys are good to go. The other perspective is that Roki Sasaki took less money to go to the Dodgers because they're run like a well-oiled machine and that they've built up a perfect process. He could have waited a few years and gotten a mega contract to go to any team that he wants. He took less money to go to the Dodgers because he wants to win. Now, if you're asking me, I'm actually going to compliment the Dodgers because just a few years ago, it wasn't too long ago, we saw big-time contracts as super risky. Josh Hamilton, Anthony Rendon, Chris Bryant, we're not too far removed from those contracts. I mean, heck, Jordan Zimmerman, who broke out with the Nationals, goes to the Tigers for $110 million and put up a near 6 ERA across 100 starts. It's not guaranteed that huge contracts are going to work out, but when we look at Dodgers big-time contracts, we all just kind of assume they're going to work out and they're going to win 10 straight championships. And I feel like, yeah, that's kind of a compliment. The fact that we see people going to the Dodgers and we just expect it to work, as opposed to the Rockies, it's going to end up in a dumpster fire. I don't know how else to put it. It's crazy. Now, just in case you're still mad at the Dodgers and the fact that they've ruined Major League Baseball, I do want to point out that the Minnesota Twins, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the San Diego Padres were all winning teams last year. They were above 500. All three of those winning teams have signed 0 big league players for 2025. 0 major league contract. And also, I'll leave you with these two quotes. I wanted to make sure I saved this for last, the best for last, because this just happened. Tom Ricketts, the owner of the Chicago Cubs. By the way, 2016, when the Cubs were in the World Series, that's the most popular and most viewed World Series of all time. This is the Cubs we're talking about. He said that the fans somehow think we have all of these dollars that the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees have, and we just keep it. Talking about they have all of that money and they pocket it, which isn't true at all. What happens is we try to break even every year, and that's about it. If the Chicago Cubs owner is trying to paint a picture that he crosses his fingers and prays to the baseball gods that he makes $0 a year, he breaks even, and he accidentally fails that goal by making millions of dollars a year, what are we doing? The Cubs fan base is literally top 5 in attendance. The Cubs have a top 5 supportive fan base, and you're basically flipping them the bird after trading for Kyle Tucker. You're in an arbitration fight against him already. Then you say the goal is to break even, and we blame the Dodgers? A few years ago, the GM of the Mariners, by the way, have a stacked rotation. Imagine if they had a stacked lineup as well. GM Jerry DiPoto literally said out loud, and he had to apologize for this, that his goal every single year is to win 54% of the games. he had to apologize for that because you just don't say that to your fan base. You say your goal is to win a World Series, not to win just above half your games. I'll keep on saying this until I'm blue in the face. We have a bad owner's problem in baseball, not a Dodgers problem. Goodbye.